This video is going to walk you through the Milestone 2 template for week 3. Keep in mind you do not have to use the template. Many students just find it useful. You're welcome to use the directions in the module and in the rubric. Okay. Now, you should read this entire template before filling it in. So go ahead and pause the video and take the time to read through this template word for word, and then unpause it when you're done. All right, now I'm going to assume that you've read through the template. So you're not going to delete anything from this template. You're just going to add your answers. So I'm going to put in a name first. This is a fake name. Okay. Next, you're going to state the question you'll pursue. So this should be copied and pasted, not retyped, copied and pasted from the list of questions, and it should be the same question you submitted in week 2, unless you've changed your question for some reason. We're going to be working the same question throughout the course, so unless you have a good reason, you should be keeping your question the same. So I'm going to actually go back to my Milestone 1 template. Let's say I chose the first question, I would just literally copy and paste it. Since for this, going through the template, I'm going to use a question that nobody has. I'm going to copy my question. It has to do with candies. Of course, your question will not have to do with candies. Okay. My question is, does the color of holiday M&Ms affect the weight of those M&Ms? Okay. So here are the directions that you're going to follow. Okay. First, you're going to fill out the table on the second page for each variable of interest for your question. So in your case, your possible variables of interest are gender, length of stay, age, BMI, follow-up time, and survival. So include only the variables that are relevant to your question of interest. If it's not mentioned in your question directly, it's not relevant. Okay? So what are the variables in my question? Well, my variables are color and weight. Okay? So in the following table, each variable should take up one row. There are lots of rows, but only use the rows you need. It is not expected that you should fill every row of this table. Okay, you will have more than one variable. It will be quantitative or categorical. Once you figure out if your variable is quantitative or categorical, you're going to put it in the row that corresponds to quantitative or categorical. Okay? And of course, your data set comes from the file you uploaded to StatCrunch in Module 1. So let's look at the directions here. The first column is variable type. This is filled in for you. Okay, do not change this. I'm going to scroll down so you can see other parts of the table. If you need those rows, use them. Okay. So you're not going to do anything for variable type. That's already in there for you. Your variable name, remember you have one variable per row. You're not going to use all the rows. And again, I list your choices for your variable names as gender, length of stay, age, BMI, follow-up time, and survival. Okay. So in my case, my categorical variable name is color. So I'm going to fill that in. And my quantitative variable name is weight. You're going to have other things. Okay. Now for descriptive statistics. So for this part of the final project, you're not going to subdivide the data for any quantitative variable in each row based on any other variable. For example, I'm not going to find statistics for weight for each color. At this point, I'm just going to keep them all together. Okay. In your case, if you're looking at the first question, for example, you're not going to find the mean length of stay separately for males and females for this particular milestone. Okay, you're going to find just the mean length of stay of all the data. Okay, then we're going to put in for each of these, we're going to put in the definition or formula, okay, and we'll get to key features later. Key features are different depending on whether or not you have a quantitative or categorical variable. Now note in key features, creating a histogram or bar chart might help, but don't include any of these graphs in this table. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull up my data in StatCrunch and work these. First thing I'm going to work is color. I have to find the frequency of each value of the variable. Now the values of my variable are going to be green and red. I know that ahead of time, right, because I've seen my data. Oh, excuse me. And you're going to be doing something different. My relative frequencies, I'm also going to have red and green. Okay. So I can put that down before I even know what those values are. So I'm going to go to StatCrunch, and we're going to find the frequency and relative frequency, or percentages, of the color. Now, one thing I'm going to do first is I'm going to recode. If you notice, my colors are 1s and 0s, okay? But those really stand for either green or red. And in your case, if your data has 1s or 0s, those are in the statistical report description. You can get to the statistical report description either through the announcements, or you can look in Module 3, find the prompt for the milestone, and in there is a link you can click on for the statistical report description. For example, that'll tell you whether or not your 0 for gender is males or females. And just as a reminder, you can go to anywhere, you can go to My Data, and you can import or upload your data set. I've already done that for you, but I'm going to recode it because that's just going to make everything really easy. If I know I'm not dealing with 1s and 0s, but I'm actually dealing with reds and greens. So I'm going to recode the color, and I just have to select color and get it to appear in this box on the right, and then I'm going to put compute. I know from my own knowledge, and you'd know from your statistical report description, that 0 was red and 1 was green. And see how that changes everything in the recoded column for color? So nice. Okay. So now I need to find the frequency and relative frequency for my red and greens. So I'm going to go to the stat column, and I'm going to go to tables frequency. I'm working with color, so I put color. And what do I want? I want frequency, and you can press control. On my computer, if I hold control down, I can press more than one. And just so you can see it, I'm going to put % of total. And then I'm going to do compute. And now you can see, one thing I do like to check is, oh, the count was 60. How many data points do I have? I scroll all the way down. Oh, I have 60. Good. There's no it didn't somehow miss any data, or I didn't delete a row or something like that. I like to make sure my counts are in order, because every once in a while I'll have a student who somehow deleted a row, and then you know, at least you'll know that you're missing a row or something. So, frequency for red and green, green is 34, red was 26. So I'm just going to copy that, right? Green 34, red 26, onto my table. Okay. And my relative frequencies are percentages. So you're either going to put, notice your relative frequency and percentages are the same except for 2 decimal places. So if you don't put a % sign, you're just going to put 2 decimal places, or 3, whatever is a reasonable number for your frequency. I'm going to put, I think it was 0.57 for my green, and my red was 0.43. Okay. If I were putting percentages, I would put 57% and 43%. It doesn't matter which one you do. Just make sure if you're using percentages, you put the % sign. And if you're using relative frequencies, don't put the % sign, put the decimal value. Now over here in this column, sort of the second column of descriptive statistics, you need to put the definition or formula. Like, how does someone come up with the frequency? I'm going to leave this for you to do, because if I put the definitions, you'll just copy it, or you'll be able to just copy it exactly, and that's not really what I'm looking for. I want you to do the work. So basically, you need to find out or describe some way of going from the original data to finding the frequency. And same thing with the relative frequency. How do you go from the original data to the relative frequency? Use a formula if it's available, describe it or write it down. If not, give me a definition. Okay. All right. Now I know the answer to this question. If I look over at my key features, is there an equal number of data points for each value of the variable? You might have, for example, is there an equal number of males and females? Well, here I can see my frequency is 34 and 26, so I would write, no, there are more greens than reds. Okay, simple answer to that question. Okay, now we're going to move on to my quantitative variable weight. So I need 4 pieces to this one. I need the mean, median, range, and standard deviation. So again, I'm going to go to StatCrunch, I'm going to go to Stat, and I'm going to go to Summary Stats. My data is in columns, so I'm going to click Columns. I'm looking at weight, okay, and I only need, let's see, I can just leave everything. Mine is kind of wonky and just doesn't want to get rid of some of these variables, but that doesn't really matter. That's fine. The only thing I need to do is just make sure I copy the right ones. Again, I double check that I'm looking at 60 data points. You'd make sure you have whatever number of data points you're supposed to have. I actually like to do a little copying and pasting if I can, because it helps me not get the numbers wrong and not, use fat fingers and get typos. So my mean, I'm going to copy and paste that. My median, I'm going to copy and paste that. Let's see, I need my range. I'm going to copy and paste that. And I also need my standard deviation, and I'm going to copy and paste that. And then I'm going to come over to the right, and I'm going to write either the definition or formula for the mean. The definition or formula are directions for how to get the median. Same thing, directions, definition, or formula. Most people miss the most points on definitions or formulas using standard deviation. You need to make it clear, how would I go from the original data points to actually getting the standard deviation? Okay. So now let's look at the key variables, or key features questions for weight. I need to answer 2 questions. Is this variable symmetric or skewed? And then describe any outliers. One thing that's going to be helpful here is if I do a histogram. Okay, I'm going to do a histogram for weight. Again, I'm not grouping by color at this point. Okay, there's my histogram. And you can see there's kind of a, what we would call skew. This is actually to the left. Okay, this particular data set is skewed to the left, so it's not symmetric, it's skewed to the left. So I would say data are skewed to the left. And any outliers? Well, I can see that this little guy right here is an outlier. Okay. Does everyone see that? Actually, let me try to get this pink highlighted off. I might want to just redo it. Somehow it decided to all go pink. So I'm going to redo that chart. Redo the histogram. It'll only take me about a couple seconds. Okay, but you can see that outliers between 0.4 and 0.5. Okay. So you can actually scroll through your data. If you actually click on it, and your data set and just that column goes pink, it'll actually probably bring you to that outlier. So you can actually find what that outlier is. It looks like I'm looking for something that's 0.4. And wherever I find it, let's see real quick. There we go. It's right there. So 0.403 was an outlier. So I'd say something like there is an outlier of 0.403. Again, I did something to make this all highlighted, and I don't want to mess around with it while I'm recording the video. But usually if you click on those columns, it will actually bring you